Welcome to the deep dive. Well, we're going to explore B.A. Sklenka's Book of Life, Book of Method.
Oh, yeah, this one's a classic.
Now, for our listeners, this isn't just another, typical astrology book. Sklenka actually gives you, the actual tools to interpret your own chart. It's like having your own personal astrological blueprint revealed.
Totally. It's about taking ownership of your astrological journey. He walks you through all the fundamentals so you can actually unlock all those secrets hidden in your chart.
He takes us chapter by chapter, and we're going to follow that structure in our deep dive here. So he starts with the basics, chart construction. And honestly, I was blown away by how he demystifies drawing the chart wheel. It's so simple, like slicing a pie.
Yeah.
12 slices, each one is a zodiac sign.
Exactly. He breaks down those really complex concepts into these bite-sized pieces. And what's really important is his emphasis on memorizing the glyphs, and the key words.
Oh, absolutely.
Sklenka really believes that mastering those fundamentals, it's like learning the astrological alphabet,
It unlocks everything.
It unlocks everything else, yeah.
And he has these really clever memory aids, remembering that the Mars glyph represents male energy and Venus female energy, but he doesn't just stop at the basic interpretations. When he's discussing the signs, he goes so much deeper than just listing traits. He's delving into the psychology behind it all, the motivations. Take the classic conflict between Virgo and Gemini.
Oh, yeah. And that's where Sklenka's insights really shine.
Right.
He says Virgo's need for order, it comes from this deeper insecurity, a fear of chaos.
Interesting.
And Gemini's duality, that's driven by this constant need for mental stimulation.
Oh, wow.
It's almost as if they're trying to outrun boredom. So when these two signs clash, it's this battle between control and freedom,
Wow, that is such a fascinating perspective. It's not just a personality clash. It's these deeper needs kind of struggling to coexist.
Yeah, exactly.
So how does Sklenka suggest we handle these challenging combinations, whether it's, in our own charts or in relationships with others?
He really emphasizes understanding those underlying motivations.
Okay.
Once you get that, you can approach conflict with more empathy.
Yeah.
And you can find ways to actually meet those needs constructively. It's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
between Virgo's need for structure and Gemini's need for that, flexibility.
That makes a lot of sense. It seems like Sklenka's overall thing is that astrology isn't about boxing people in, but understanding the complexities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the planets. He gives, keywords for each, ego for the sun, emotions for the moon. But his explanations of some of the more complex planetary phenomena,
retrograde motion, I thought that was super insightful.
Oh, his analogies are so good. He compares a retrograde planet to a car that looks like it's moving backwards when you're passing it, right? It's an illusion. But it highlights how those planets function in the chart. Their energy is more internalized. It's not so outwardly directed.
I love that car analogy. It really drives the point home.
Right.
Okay, so we got the signs, we got the planets, all these individual parts. But how do they actually interact? That's where aspects come in.
Yeah. And Sklenka, he introduces this really amazing technique. He calls it the rose wind technique for calculating those aspects. So imagine you're drawing lines from each planet to all the others, like on a wheel, right?
Okay.
And the angle between the spokes.
Yeah.
That shows you the aspect.
Gotcha.
It's such a visually intuitive way to understand those relationships.
And he doesn't just tell you how to calculate them.
Yeah.
He shows you what they mean. How those harder aspects involving planets like Mars and Saturn can create tension.
Yeah. And he uses the example chart from the book.
Oh, cool.
To show you how to spot them, which is so helpful because you can actually visualize it, right?
Right.
He highlights how Mars, that assertive energy, can clash with Saturn. Saturn, the limitations and boundaries.
Saturn's tough.
It's like driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake.
Oof. I can imagine.
That's the kind of internal conflict that those aspects can create.
That sounds frustrating.
Yeah, but Sklenka emphasizes that understanding those challenges allows us to actually work with that energy more consciously.
So instead of feeling like a victim of circumstance,
exactly,
you can recognize the patterns and find better ways to express it.
Yes. It's like that Mars-Saturn tension might come out as frustration,
yeah,
but it can also be channeled into discipline, action, perseverance.
So it's about understanding our astrological wiring so we can work with it, not against it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered signs, planets, aspects, but we need to see how these energies play out in our life. That's where the houses come in.
Precisely. Each house represents a different part of life. And he shows us how those planetary energies manifest in each house. So like the first house, that's our self-image, how we approach the world.
Makes sense.
Mars, ruler of Aries, naturally influences that house, shapes our drive, our assertiveness, that pioneering spirit.
And Sklenka really highlights those connections between planetary rulers and the houses, right?
Yes.
So if we understand Mars in our chart, we can really see how we assert ourselves out in the world.
Exactly.
It's like unlocking a deeper level of self-understanding.
It is. He wants us to use those connections to get a more holistic view of our charts.
And ultimately ourselves.
Yes.
So we're not just looking at like individual planets and signs.
Right.
We're seeing how they all weave together to create this like complex tapestry of our lives.
Yeah.
But what about the future? Can we use this knowledge to like get a glimpse of what's to come?
That's where transits come in. Sklenka describes transits as like planets moving through the sky.
Okay.
And they interact with the planets in our natal chart. Our natal chart is that, snapshot of the sky at the moment we were born.
Right.
It's like the planets are actors on a stage.
Okay.
And our natal chart is the set.
I love that.
And as those actors move around, they interact with the set in different ways, creating all these different scenes.
So these transits,
Yes.
they can bring opportunities, challenges, depending on the planets involved.
Exactly. Favorable transits can bring periods of growth, expansion, ease. Challenging transits can bring tension, restriction, even necessary change,
Okay.
But Sklenka, he's really big on this. Even those difficult transits, those are valuable opportunities for growth.
So it's not about fearing those tough transits.
No, not at all.
It's seeing them as like prompts.
Exactly.
Look within.
Yeah.
Confront stuff we've been avoiding. Ultimately, become more resilient.
It's like the universe is giving us a nudge,
A cosmic nudge.
Yeah. To evolve. And he even tells these really inspiring stories
Oh, cool.
about people who use their knowledge of transits to navigate those ups and downs. Knowing about those astrological cycles gave them the courage to make big moves when the timing was right and weather the storms when things got tough.
That's so empowering.
Yeah.
But Sklenka doesn't stop there. He takes us even deeper
I know.
with this concept of declination.
He's going beyond the basics. Until now, we've been focusing on that planetary movement along the ecliptic,
The sun's path.
Yeah, the sun's apparent path. But declination measures how far north or south of that ecliptic the planets move. Think of it as adding a third dimension to our understanding of the planets.
So instead of just where the planets are in relation to the zodiac signs, we're also looking at their position compared to the Earth's equator.
Precisely. And this opens up so much more in terms of interpretation.
Okay.
Sklenka explains that planets with similar declinations, whether they're north or south, they're considered parallel, creates a resonance between them.
Interesting.
And when they have opposite declinations, they're contraparallel, which can create tension or conflict. It's like those with parallel declinations are harmonizing.
Yeah.
And those with the contraparallel ones are creating this dissonance.
Oh, I love that musical analogy. So parallel is harmony, contraparallel, dissonance. I got it. But how do we actually use this?
Well, Sklenka points out these really cool points called ecliptic intercepts.
Ecliptic intercepts. That sounds intense. Tell me more.
Think of them as pressure points in your chart. These specific declination points can show us areas of life where you might have sudden changes, breakthroughs, or even crises.
Wow.
It's these points, the energy is amplified, things can shift dramatically.
Okay, that sounds intense, but also super valuable.
Yeah.
Can we calculate these points? Can we use declination to anticipate those big life events?
Absolutely. Sklenka gives us all the tools to calculate. He shows you how to use declination to anticipate potential turning points, opportunities, challenges. It's like getting a heads up about the cosmic weather,
So it's not just an abstract concept.
Yeah.
It's a tool for understanding those subtle influences that can really shape our experiences.
It is.
Okay, now let's talk about something that's super relevant to all of us. Relationships.
Yes.
I was really into Sklenka's chapters on midpoints and synastry.
The astrology of relationships.
Exactly.
He gets into some amazing techniques for understanding those dynamics. So midpoints, those are the points halfway between two planets in your chart. And they add like another layer of nuance to your interpretations.
So it's like adding those fine details.
Exactly. And what's really cool is transits to midpoints can actually refine our predictions even more.
Wow.
Like, instead of just saying Saturn's transiting your 7th house of relationships, expect some bumps.
Right.
You can get super specific by looking at those transits to midpoints.
Oh, wow.
So you could say something like, on this date, Saturn will conjunct your Venus-Mars midpoint.
Okay.
Which could mean a conflict about money or intimacy.
That level of detail is incredible.
I know.
It gives you a much deeper understanding of how those big cycles are playing out.
Exactly.
And then, of course, there's synastry, comparing two charts to see how the energies like work together. I imagine midpoints are really helpful in that too.
Oh, absolutely. They can reveal those like subtle points of connection or tension between two people, give you insight into the relationship dynamics.
So we can see where those energies are clicking or clashing and understand like why we're drawn to some people and others just, not so much.
Exactly.
Now, here's something that really surprised me. Relocation.
Oh, yeah.
Sklenka actually talks about how moving to a new location can change the astrological influences.
He brings up a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Your natal planets, those don't change.
Okay.
But your angles do.
Wait, what?
The ascendant, descendant, MC, IC, they all shift based on your new latitude and longitude.
So my chart actually changes when I move. Like if I move from, say, a big city to the countryside, my astrological energy will shift.
Not your natal planets, no. Those stay put.
Okay.
But the angles,
Yeah.
which represent key areas of life,
Oh.
like your self-presentation, your career goals, your home life.
Right.
Those areas can be affected by location.
Wow. That's kind of mind-blowing.
It is.
So it's not just the physical environment changing,
Yeah.
it's the energetic environment too. Like different locations resonate with different parts of our charts.
Precisely.
And Sklenka reminds us to look at fixed stars when relocating too.
Oh, yes.
Fixed stars.
Those distant stars that have their own, like, unique influences. Some are good, some are challenging. When you relocate, different fixed stars can align with different points in your chart.
Wow.
And that can influence you.
So it's not just about real estate, it's like cosmic real estate too.
Exactly.
Moving isn't just about packing bags, it's packing a whole new set of astrological influences.
That's a great way to put it.
Understanding these nuances can help us make better choices about where we live, where we work, where we travel even.
Absolutely.
It's about aligning ourselves with those environments that, like, work with our unique astrological blueprint.
It is.
So it's not just about reading our birth charts, it's about understanding how they interact with the world around us, with the places we choose to be. This is fascinating.
Sklenka takes us on a journey from the basics to the advanced stuff, and he makes it feel so approachable. He makes it feel like something we can all understand and apply to our lives.
I agree. Sklenka's Book of Life, Book of Method, is more than just a textbook guide.
It's a guide.
For self-discovery, like a toolbox to navigate life with more awareness, more intention.
I love that.
And he makes it empowering. You know, it's like he's saying, hey, you have the power to understand yourself, your relationships, your life path. You just need the right tools and that willingness to explore.
And that's what it comes down to, empowerment.
Yes.
He wants us to take control of our astrological journey, to become those active participants in our lives, not just passive observers.
He's showing us that astrology isn't just about predicting the future.
No.
It's about understanding ourselves.
Yeah.
Understanding the world around us.
Yes.
With more depth, more clarity.
Absolutely.
It's about using those insights to make better choices.
Yeah.
To navigate challenges with more grace. To ultimately step into our full potential.
That's it.
Okay, we've covered so much already. Sklenka's approach to, like, the chart, planetary interpretations, aspects, houses, transits, declination, midpoints, synastry, even relocation astrology. But there's still more, including some really cool techniques for predicting specific events.
Yeah. Now, are you ready to go even deeper?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, Sklenka doesn't just stop at the overview, you know? He actually equips us with the tools to make specific predictions about our lives. He introduces a technique called solar and lunar returns.
Solar and lunar returns?
Yeah.
Okay, what are those?
So think of a solar return as like a personalized birthday horoscope. It's a chart that's cast for the exact moment that the sun returns to the same position it was in when you were born.
Oh, cool.
And it gives you insights into the themes and opportunities that are going to be like prominent in the coming year.
Oh, so it's like an annual astrological checkup.
Yeah.
See what energies are going to be shaping the year ahead.
Exactly. It highlights potential areas of growth challenges you might encounter, and even specific events that could unfold.
Wow, okay.
And then there are lunar returns, which are similar, but they focus on the moon's cycle.
Okay.
So a lunar return chart is cast for the moment the moon returns to the same position it was in at your birth.
Got it. So if the solar return gives us the big picture for the year, the lunar return is more of a month by month.
Yeah, got it.
Kind of breaks it down?
Breaks it down, yeah. And it reveals like those emotional undercurrents, the shifting moods, the areas where you might be most like sensitive or receptive.
Interesting.
During each lunar cycle. And Sklenka suggests using these return charts together to get like a really comprehensive forecast.
That's awesome. It's like using a wide-angle lens A&D, a zoom lens.
Yeah, exactly.
To really like zero in on the details. I like that approach a lot.
It's a good one.
He also talks about using transits to specific points in these return charts.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So, for example, you might see Saturn transiting the 10th house of career in your solar return.
Okay.
Which could suggest challenges or delays in that area. But by looking at the transits to the midpoints in that solar return chart, you can get even more specific.
Oh, wow.
Like maybe Saturn conjoins your Sun, Saturn midpoint, which indicates that like hard work and perseverance are going to be key this year.
It's amazing how you can like layer these techniques to fine-tune the predictions. It reminds me of like a detective gathering clues.
Oh, yeah.
Each clue adds another layer until you get the full picture.
I love that analogy.
So it's not just about learning each technique individually.
No.
It's about developing that astrological intuition, that ability to synthesize information and see the patterns that emerge.
Exactly. And he really stresses that practice and observation are so important.
Oh, for sure.
The more you work with these techniques, the more comfortable you'll become with interpreting them.
Definitely. Now, Sklenka also spends a lot of time in the book discussing progressions and directions.
Yes.
Can you explain what those are?
Yeah, so he gets into some really cool techniques for like tracking how your life story unfolds.
Okay.
So progressions, they're a symbolic way of looking at how your natal chart evolves over time.
Okay.
And it's based on this idea that each day after you're born corresponds to a year of your life.
Interesting.
So to find your progressed chart for, say, age 30, you look at the planetary positions 30 days after you were born.
It's like fast forwarding through your astrological journey.
Yeah, exactly.
So by looking at our progressed chart, we can get a sense of how our energies and potential are like developing.
You got it. Progressions can reveal major turning points, shifts in your personality, or like new themes emerging in your life.
I like that. And then what about directions?
Okay, so directions are another technique for tracking the movement of planets over time.
Okay, so how are those different from progressions?
So progressions are symbolic, using that day for a year idea.
Right.
Directions are more mathematical.
Okay.
They use precise calculations to track how the planets move through the zodiac. And there are different methods, but Sklenka, he really focuses on what's called primary directions.
Primary directions.
Yeah, he considers it one of the most reliable techniques for predicting specific events.
So like we could use directions to see major events coming.
Yeah, like career changes, relationships, even health challenges.
That's pretty powerful.
It is. And Sklenka gives really detailed instructions for how to calculate and interpret them.
Oh, that's awesome.
It does involve some math, but he breaks it down step by step.
Okay.
So it's manageable for anyone who's willing to put in the effort.
It's like he's giving us the keys to a cosmic time machine.
Yeah.
And with those keys, we can start to understand the timing of those major life events.
Exactly. He even shares examples of how primary directions have accurately predicted events in his own life and the lives of his clients.
Wow, that's amazing.
He really believes in the predictive power of this technique when it's used correctly.
You know, it's so incredible how Sklenka blends that ancient astrological wisdom with these like really practical techniques.
I know.
And he makes it feel relevant for today. He's empowering us to become active participants in our own destinies.
Exactly. And he really stresses that astrology isn't about fate. It's about recognizing the opportunities and challenges that are already there in our path and making conscious choices based on that knowledge.
And he doesn't shy away from the complexity either.
No, he doesn't.
He explains some advanced techniques that definitely take time and effort.
Yeah.
But he makes it feel encouraging, not overwhelming.
Right. It's like he's inviting us on this lifelong journey of astrological exploration. He's giving us the map, but he's also encouraging us to find our own paths. To make our own discoveries and to trust our intuition along the way.
Yeah, one thing that really stood out to me was his emphasis on observation and experience. He doesn't just tell us what to think. He wants us to test these techniques out to see how it connects to our own lives.
He advocates for an approach that blends study with real-world application.
Exactly.
He wants us to become keen observers of our own lives, to notice how those planetary movements correlate with things happening in our inner and outer worlds.
Like he's saying, don't just take my word for it.
Yeah.
Go out there and experience it for yourself.
Exactly.
That's what makes this book so empowering. It's not about blindly accepting interpretations.
Right.
It's about, developing your own understanding through your own experiences.
It's about becoming your own astrologer, using these techniques as a framework to understand yourself and your journey.
Okay, well, we've covered a ton of ground here. We've explored Sklenka's approach to chart construction, planetary interpretations, aspects, houses, transits, declination, midpoints, synastry, even relocation astrology. But there's even more to uncover, including his insights on how to integrate all of these techniques.
He really wants us to get that astrology isn't just about individual pieces,
Yeah.
It's about seeing how it's all connected, understanding how the planets, the signs, the houses, the aspects, they all work together.
It's like a big web.
Exactly, like a tapestry. He wants us to approach astrology holistically.
See the forest for the trees.
Yes. And he emphasizes that every chart is unique, like a fingerprint.
It's your story.
Right. It's like each chart tells a story, and we're learning how to read it to see its potential.
And he reminds us that astrology isn't just about, analyzing charts. It's about, actually using that knowledge to make our lives better.
He sees it as a tool for self-discovery, like a guide for navigating life.
Love that. It's like he's giving it this roadmap and saying, go explore.
Exactly. And he really emphasizes that astrology is a practice.
Yeah.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Always learning.
Always. It's not about having all the answers, but staying curious, observing, questioning, and trusting your gut.
Become your own astrologer.
Exactly. He even challenges some of the traditional ways of looking at things in astrology. Yeah, he wants us to think for ourselves, question what we've been taught, see if it lines up with what we experience.
I love that.
It's so refreshing. He's not saying this is the only way. He's saying, let's explore together,
Astrology's alive. It's evolving.
Exactly. And he wants us to be a part of that, contribute our own insights and experiences.
Now, one thing that really stuck with me was Sklenka's discussion of free will versus destiny. He knows, the stars have influence, but we have the power to choose how we respond.
That's huge. It's easy to think, well, it's all fated, right?
Right.
But Sklenka says, yeah, maybe we have certain tendencies, but we always have a choice in how we express them.
So astrology gives us the map.
Yeah.
But we get to pick the destination and the route.
I love that. We're co-creators, not just passengers.
Yes. We can learn, we can grow, we can make choices.
Consciously evolve.
He even says, understanding our astrology helps us use our free will better.
I know, it's cool, right?
It's like working with the energies, not against them.
Knowing our strengths and weaknesses, seeing the opportunities and the challenges.
And then making choices that are right for us.
That align with our highest potential.
The whole idea of book of life, book of method, it's so powerful.
It is.
It's like our charts are our own personal stories.
Right.
And astrology is the way we learn to read them.
It's beautiful. He's inviting us to, really look inside ourselves.
Become students of our own lives.
Exactly. And uncover those hidden treasures.
And it's a journey.
Always more to learn.
More to discover. More to experience. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Book of Life, Book of Method, what would you say is the most important message Sklenka leaves us with?
I think it's simple, really. Astrology is about empowerment.
Yes.
Understanding ourselves, our relationships, our purpose.
Our place in the world.
Exactly. Using that knowledge to make good choices.
Navigate the tough stuff.
And become who we're meant to be.
It's about bringing that ancient wisdom to life in a way that's relevant and meaningful for us today.
And it's about remembering that we're all in this together. Connected, part of something bigger.
And astrology helps us see those connections.
Live more fulfilling lives.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to end. Sklenka's Book of Life, Book of Method is a gift.
It really is.
For anyone who wants to understand astrology,
And themselves.
it's a guide, a toolbox, an invitation to a journey of self-discovery.
It reminds us that we're not alone, that the cosmos is a reflection of us.
So to all our listeners, explore Sklenka's work. Dive into your own chart. Embrace the power of astrology. And remember,
the stars are always there,
guiding us,
illuminating our paths,
and reminding us of our infinite potential.
Keep looking up.
And keep diving deep.